Hey, what's happening, all you dudes and dudettes? This is Dudes Talking Freedom back at you once again. This is Luke.
And I'm Jeremy.
And we want to thank you for joining us on the Dudes Talking Freedom podcast. We're brought to you by Warriors for Freedom, a nonprofit that creates pathways to engage service members to help veterans and their families prevent suicide, foster camaraderie, and help them live their best lives. Check them out at warriorsforfreedom.org. All right, folks, we have Marvin Lowe in the studio, who is the Frisco ISD trustee, and we'll be talking freedom, education, and whatever else we want to talk about. So let's get into it, shall we?
Marvin, thanks for joining us. We're thrilled to have you in the studio. We really appreciate you coming in. I know it took us a little while to get it on the books, and we've had a couple reschedules, but we're thrilled to have you here. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, man. Really appreciate it.
We first got introduced at the Amy Boots, I guess, announcement party.
That's correct.
Yeah, anybody was there.
Yeah, it was a packed house.
We're pretty happy the fire marshal didn't show up.
Yeah,
that's true.
There was a lot of people there at that
Felt like
event.
I was like at a high school party or something.
Yeah, I know. It's crazy.
But there's no
beers, DJ, it's wild. People on the outside, inside, front yard. It was nuts.
It was. There's a lot of signage.
So yeah, why don't you start by just telling us a little bit about yourself, a little bit of your background, and then maybe get into how you got into school board politics in Frisco ISD.
Sure. Well, I'm from California originally, and I'm glad you guys aren't holding that against me.
No.
But I left in about 91.
Oh, wow.
And I ended up going to Grambling State University in Louisiana. Graduated 4 years later, but I stayed out there and started a small business and did that for a couple of years before I decided to move out to Dallas. And I moved here in 97, working in sales for AT&T and different sales and director type jobs before I ended up getting into real estate.
Okay.
And I've been in my third decade of real estate. So kind of been there a little while.
So are you an agent?
I'm a broker. I have my own small company. Yes.
Oh, nice. Awesome. Awesome. It's
When'd
a
you
good
form
market.
Yep.
Good market to be in as a real estate broker.
It's a great market at interesting times though right now. I only make money when I sell or buy homes, and I can't really advise people to buy it this time. For the first time in a little while, I'm saying that there's no rush to buy. If you waited another year, I think prices are going to be down.
Yeah.
Hopefully I'm wrong, but
hopefully you are. Yeah, I don't think you will be, but I hope that you are.
So you see rates going higher and home price going lower, huh?
That's what's going to happen. And what has happened in the Metroplex, at least, are people are just used to the appreciation year over year. And so that the fact that that's not happening anymore has to settle in. And once that settles in, we start seeing some corrections in the market. I think it'll be a time to buy then. But right now, people haven't quite gotten there yet. It hasn't quite been a year since interest rate hit 7%. And so that's where we are right now.
I thought I saw we were somewhere around 22% off the peak.
We're right now.
That's nuts to think about that.
Yeah.
Wow. I think when I bought my first property, it was a condo. I'm from Massachusetts originally, so don't hold that against me.
People.
You people. What is that supposed to
I'm
mean?
from Oklahoma, God's country.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. So yeah, I want to say my first mortgage, I think, we bought our condo up there. I think I was paying somewhere in the 6 and change range, and like, I thought that was a lot. And, now I'm like below 4 when I first bought here, like in 2019. And then I refinanced in 2020. And like right around like when COVID hit, like the rates had dipped.
Right.
And right before they started to creep, I was able to refinance and got like a nice 3 and change. And I was like, oh, this is nice. And, but here in 7, it's like, it's bad, but it's not as bad as what I remember it when it's around what I remember it to be when I first bought my first home.
Well, that's true, but
decades ago.
But you have people who are used to 3% when it doubles on them, and you're looking at maybe a $500,000 house that would have cost $2,700 is now $3,700
Yeah.
a month. And that's just not something that people are used to yet. Now,
Right.
if it drags on a little while, they get used to it and we'll come back.
Yeah.
People come back to buying, but
Spend
that's
their
where we
money
are.
in different ways
Yeah.
and, pinch pennies here, spend
Yeah.
a little bit more on the house, that kind of thing.
Well, wage growth is going to have to keep up with the monthly payments.
Yeah.
Well,
essentially.
with all the layoffs happening in a lot of these companies, that's like, they're crushing employees. They're trying not to pay people more money. And that's where the squeeze happens. That's like what inflation, then more taxes, inflation goes up, housing, costs kind of dip, maybe stay flat, interest rates go up, mortgage cost goes up,
They want
cost
the
of goods
people to
goes
beg
up.
for that universal
Salaries
income.
aren't going up, man. Salaries don't go up. And then, they do want that. That's exactly what they want.
Well, employment demand is kind of low.
Yeah.
I mean, for the jobs that are paying really well, and you see all of the major companies are just laying off people.
Yeah.
But I think that's interesting. I know it's not the subject, but you look at Elon Musk buying Twitter
Yeah.
and getting rid of 80%.
80%. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, and the company's still operating. You kind of it makes you
Well,
wonder, what were they doing?
That's what they were asking him. And he was just like, look, like, I don't know what he goes, I think what he said was, it's interesting when you no longer have to worry about running kind of a censorship division.
Yeah.
You don't need 80% of your employees. Imagine that.
Well, it was work leisure. It was work leisure there because they'd come in and they'd hang out and they'd talk about their feelings. They'd
Right.
do a
Play
little
ping pong.
stretching. Yeah. Oh, I did 12 minutes of work.
Yeah. Xbox.
You see a
the
smoke
lunchroom.
break every 3 hours, and now you get
Yeah.
a work break every 3 hours. You
He's
go to
also
work.
charging. I think I read somewhere that he's, because now he's charging for to get certified as like a blue check mark or whatever it
$8,
is,
yeah.
right? And those people, $12 depending on like your level or whatever, and the people are paying it, and they're making money off of that. And actually, he's gonna like get a return at some point because more and more people are doing it. And I think that it's a good thing for social media because I think eventually, you got an issue with bots. You got an issue with like people that will go and they'll spin up 15 accounts. And then you've got these like, server, these data, data farms in like China. We've got click farms in China. Yeah. That we've got like
India,
India, China, they got
stereotypical
thousands of employees, air quotes, just sitting there at computers with like 7, 8 screens, 10 screens, and they've got like one account on each screen. And then they're just like, boom, boom, boom. They copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste, copy, paste. And they just keep rattling things off.
And now they don't have to because they can just load it up into ChatGPT.
Right. Yeah. That's exactly it.
That's scary. It's like
scary.
the Matrix when the machines are coming, right? Like that's what it is.
It is. But I do think like getting that, like you got to pay to play, will remove some of that because people will be less likely to actually want to pay, because then it costs them money to run that operation, and that they were running that operation at very little cost. Now they'd have to run that operation at maybe double, triple, quadruple the cost, depending on what they're paying these people per hour.
Yes.
And now they're doing decentralized social media. So you've got the Nostr platform, which is,
Nostr.
Yeah, Nostr. And I've started playing around with that. And it's basically you have your own private key with your own identity. And then you have a public key that you share across platforms. So whether you're using Damus on the phone, on the Apple iOS platform, or you're using a different web browser version of a Nostr-based application. Nostr is like the back-end platform.
Right.
Once you have that private key, you're the only person that has that private key. As long as you don't go sharing it stupidly online, no one can see it, access it, and pretend that they're you. And so if you wanted to federate your account from one app to another, so say like a Twitter-like application to a Facebook-like application that both run on the Nostr platform, you can do that. And you post it here and it goes here, and it's the same post across all things.
With that at
all.
all.
It's fairly new. It's a fairly new technology, and it's basically decentralized social media, which means they can't censor you and they can't use bots. And it's a novel concept. And Jack Dorsey, who started Twitter and then left Twitter when he actually I don't know if he started the technology or came up with the technology, but he's a big Bitcoin guy and he's big into decentralized finance. And I think people have been calling for decentralized social media for a while because of the corruption that has permeated that space. And Nostr is something that he's big. Yeah.
Open source everything.
It's great. I think it's great. Yeah. So it's new and it's an interesting. I'm in the tech sector, so I'm like, I pay attention to this geeky stuff a little bit, but
I thought Jack Dorsey's was called like Blue.
Blue Sky is like one of his, things that he's working on.
That was his like blockchain.
It's like a Web
aggregator,
3.0.
social media aggregator. Web 3.0.
Yeah. So anyway, so you got to Frisco.
Yes.
And you have 4 daughters.
Well, 4 kids. I have two boys and 2 girls.
Oh, 2 boys, 2 girls. Okay.
I have a son who's graduating this year, going to A&M. So I'm really happy for him.
Congrats.
Able to kind of live through him.
Yeah, great school. Great school.
Gig 'em.
Yeah. And, then we have my daughter. She's 14. She's a senior. Then I have a son who's in middle school. And my daughter, who's 11 years old. And I have to brag about my son a little while. He just got in the track last year. Mm-hmm. And this year, he competed in the 100, the 200, the 4x1, and the long jump. Wow. Got first place in all of them.
Wow.
2 weeks in a row.
Good for him. That's awesome.
He's just good. My retirement plan.
Yeah, right. Olympic
gold
medals. Back up for a second. You said your daughter's 14 and she's a senior?
No, my son is a senior.
Oh.
He's the one. He's the one who's going to A&M. Yes.
All right, got it.
That's crazy.
Okay.
That's exactly the setup that I have.
Really?
Well, no. It's girl, boy. So
okay.
Two boys, 2 girls.
Yeah, I'm boy, girl, boy. And
are you going to catch up with us?
Oh man, I'm done, man. That's it.
You're at the front.
So.
Mine are all young.
I don't think so. My youngest is 7, and he's a handful. So yeah, we're done. Well, that's awesome. So you were why'd you pick Frisco?
Real estate broker. Understood where the growth and appreciation was coming. So I was living in Plano at the time, and I got married in 2007 and decided to buy a home out here in Frisco.
Okay.
Yes.
All right, cool. And then how did you get into school board politics?
Now that's really interesting. I had no interest in politics whatsoever prior to what I'm about to tell you. No interest. Unfortunately, I had never voted in a municipal election, except for maybe I think they had a bond issue or something I voted against. But that was it. I just wasn't into local politics. And the main reason was because you could never figure out what the people stood for because they didn't have a R or D behind their name. So you didn't know whether they were conservative or liberal. And, for the school board, it's just like, I love kids. And somebody says, I love kids more. Well, I really, really love kids. And that's all you knew. Who could say I love kids the most? Right. And you vote for them.
Yeah.
Times infinity, locks, no give backs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No takes backsies. Yeah. No takesies backsies.
So what happened was there was a lot of talk about CRT in the news in the past several years. And I felt like I live in Frisco. We're, a little writer center. And I figured that we didn't have those type of issues. But I decided to contact the school board to find out what their opinion was on CRT. And when they gave me answers that were legal type answers, I'm asking you, what do you think about CRT? And they would just say, we're not allowed to teach CRT. It told me everything I know. And then one particular trustee was particularly snarky to me, and I decided to run, and that was it.
Oh, is that right?
Yes.
So that's what set you over. Everyone's got their tipping point.
That was it. And I'll tell you this, had I known how involved, if I had known what it takes to really run and win, I probably wouldn't have done it because of the time that it takes to get involved. And I'm a person who really likes excellence and likes to do things right. And I had no idea what you really had to do. And I always tell people, I think I ran the worst campaign in the world.
Really?
I look at, I look at, like Amy Boots, and I look at some of the other people that were running. They just are on top of everything. And, I decided last minute I was going to get into this thing. I didn't really sign up until the year of elections, so January. So I was always kind of a little bit behind, I felt, in everything I was doing.
Huh.
Well, it seems like you came along at the right time.
I mean, it worked.
Well,
whatever you did worked because you won.
I did. I had a lot of good people behind me. Frisco, Families for Frisco was behind me, and RTR. So there were a lot of people who were really behind me and supported me that I didn't even know about prior to running. And they got behind me, heard what I stood for, and they supported me and really pushed me over the mark because I only won by 52 points. I'm kind of jealous of Garrett Linker because he won by, what was it?
18, something like that.
I wanted to hold the title of winning by the least amount of votes.
I mean, his margin was tight.
It was tight.
It was tight. But like God was working at that time because he was up against all odds.
I know he was.
And he won, thankfully, because I think he is a voice of the people. And I think that, here in Prosper, there's some stuff going on, and I just like there's stuff going on in Frisco, you know what I mean? And it's, we're happy to have him on the board, fighting for parents in Prosper. And to your point, I was very much the same way. I never voted in a municipal election ever until I moved here. And, I've had kids for, 13 years, et cetera. I've not voted, I lived in New Jersey for about 8 years prior to moving here. I lived in Massachusetts prior to that. Never once voted in a municipal election for any reason at all. Right. Generals, but never in a municipal. And, we started paying attention to things in the last few years after we moved here, thinking, hey, this is where we want to be. This is it. Like, we did our research. We moved here. We said, like, this is what the school systems are great. And we got here, and as we've said, with other, candidates and board members, it's not what we originally thought we were signing on for. And you start to see things and hear things, and you start to uncover things, and you're like, well, wait a minute, this is, something's not right here, And
that's exactly right.
I'm glad we have Garrett. We need more Garretts. And I'm hopeful that this election season will bring us a couple more.
I thought it was kind of interesting that in our elections in Frisco and in Prosper, the three candidates that won, well, we did have one incumbent that won in Frisco, but all three of us are Californians.
Yeah.
Well, we've been talking about that quite a bit on the show because it seems like all these, freedom fighters, they're all from California. And everybody says, don't California my Texas, but like the Californians are coming to save Texas, it feels like.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, but what happened is we've been in California and we've seen the erosion of just the society in general. And, people are leaving that to come here. And when they see some of the same things happening that were happening in California 20 years ago, it just says, hey, wait, guys, trust me, this does not end in a good way.
Yeah.
Do we need to build an ark or something?
We might.
I don't know.
I'm thinking about it. So it's mind blowing to me what's going on with the schools, and I sound like a broken record for people who've listened to this show before, but again, I don't think it's a teacher problem. It's a system problem, and the system has been like the chips and the cards have been stacked against the parents. It doesn't mean that the parents have a beef with the teachers. It means that they have a beef with the system. And in some cases, some teachers that are backing the system blindly, or are backing, a superintendent blindly, or are, really like cheering for one side and not really listening to the parents as much.
You're exactly right. I think if we got back to the way education is supposed to be structured, I mean, you have the administration you have the superintendent who does all the hiring, but you have the trustees who are elected by the community. Mm-hmm. And they oversee the administration, and our task is really to implement policy that reflects the values of the community. And what happens is, I just don't think that's been happening, and most people don't realize it. I mean, there's things that go on in policy and different things that the district follows that I believe if the majority of the population knew about, they would be against it. Yeah. Period. Left, right, it doesn't matter. It's just not good policy.
Well, Texas Association of School Boards wouldn't agree with you, I don't think. They don't think the constituents are who you should be serving, right? They believe.
That's absolutely correct. You say that, and you seem like you're saying it in jest.
No. I'm fact. Not.
Oh, yes.
It's right here. I know. Published online in the TASB School Law e-source. Basically, in Texas, however, school board trustees are not like other public office holders, such as city council members, state legislators, or county commissioners. Once elected, a school board trustee serves on a body corporate, and the board's constituency is the district itself, not a group of voters.
Exactly. And I don't know where that comes from. I think that's just promoting their own interests.
Yeah.
And that's where they come from. But why would you need the public to elect us if we're not there to
represent the public?
Yeah.
You get hired by your boss.
Yeah. Right.
It's crazy.
It is crazy. It's a clown world.
Well, the president of TASB, she works at she's part of the Board of Trustees.
Isn't she on the board?
She's the vice president of the Frisco Independent School District.
Okay.
Yeah.
Board of Trustees. Yes.
But she is vacating.
She's
correct?
Vacating her position. Yes, that's correct.
All right.
Okay.
And and that's is that place 4? Is that where Susan Kershaw and Mark Hill are running?
No, Kershaw is running for place 5, and that's the vice president. So
that is being vacated.
Yes, it is.
So it's place 5. Okay. Mm-hmm. And then she's running against Mark Hill.
Mark Hill, that's correct.
And Marvin's not even running, but he's out here working his tail off, it seems like. I mean, does it feel like an election year for you? It seems like your schedule is so packed. We're lucky to even have you on.
Yeah, right.
No, I'm thankful to be on. And but I tell you, actually running for office is a lot harder than what I'm doing now.
Is that okay?
Running for office is, and I think it was a challenge because I had never done it, didn't have any experience, didn't know what to do, what people I needed, and things like that. But like I said, with the help of certain organizations, we really got over the finish line. I could not have done it by myself.
Yeah, well, I mean, it takes a village, and in running a campaign is definitely not something one can do alone. So,
no, it's not.
Yeah.
Well, it's one of the things you ran on. I know was to have the best paid teachers in North Texas and not burden them with a bunch of administrative tasks. But it seems like Frisco ISD is losing 800 teachers, I heard?
Yeah, we lost between 1,400 and 1,500 teachers in the last couple of years. Matter of fact, we lost a lot of them to you guys over here in Prosper.
Oh, okay.
Great.
Sorry.
Still on our teachers. And one of the things I did run on was having our teachers be the best paid. I mean, I think we're one of the best cities in the state and really in the country. Yeah. And I believe that our salaries for our teachers should reflect that. We have run into some problems. Being a property-rich city, we're not able to keep all of our money and use it the way we think it should be used. We only get so much per student, and if we collect taxes over that, it goes back to the state.
Right.
And so if we could just change that up a little bit, and if we could keep more money, I think that's more money we could use for teachers. Or another idea that I had was it's money that we could use to replace the federal government, the money that we receive from the federal government.
Yeah.
And then we get off their teat. You have
to cut some of those strings that are attached to that money, you know?
I think we so need to do that. There's a couple of lines, cut TASB, cut the federal government, because they are the ones who are behind a lot of the things, the policy that we have to follow in the district.
In the HOA. All of it, right? Defund the HOA.
Defund it all. And the Fed. End it all. Yeah. Just start it over. So right now, Texas state legislative session is it's in session. Texas legislator.
Biennial.
The biennial session,
yes.
Right? 6 months every 2 years. We just learned that the other day from we had Janelle Davis and Eileen Blakowski on. Okay. And they've been spending a lot of time down in Austin, fighting the good fight down there. We came up with the new hashtag slogan, "Make Education Great Again," MEGA, which we're going to be using now. And so,
real original.
A lot of that stuff, I guess. So what they told us was that a lot of the lawmakers down there, on both the left and the right, are really surprised at a lot of the evidentiary information or a lot of the evidence that's being brought down there by parents and lawyers and, activists to legislation to say, hey, this is what's going on in these schools. This is what's going on in our district. This is coming from all over Texas, right? And so the lawmakers are like, wait a minute, this is real. This is happening. We thought this was all conspiracy. And we need to have a bill. We need to sign on to a bill. We need to push through a bill to fix these problems. And so they're seeing a lot of progress from both sides.
You're absolutely right. We have two good state representatives, Matt Shaheen and Jared Patterson. Mm-hmm. And Jared Patterson has sponsored the Reader Act, which is an act. It's funny, you would need an act or a bill to get pornography out of the schools.
Yeah.
But we'll tell you that it's there. Administration and different people who are for this stuff will say it's not there. Well, it's a very interesting thing. It's a video I have online where we had one of our constituents come up at the board meeting and read a passage from one of the books.
Yeah.
And she was reprimanded by the president of the school board for reading that in front of kids. The irony was totally missed on her that this is a book in our school.
Yeah.
And
that the kids can go check out and read.
That they can. And then to top it off, the president voted for that book to remain in the school. So the book that
after the reading,
it came up. It was a third level where the board makes the final decision. So we got the book and we voted on it. And she voted for it. And the book remains. We don't have the majority, so the book remains in the library.
Clown world.
It really is.
It's a clown world. We're living in a clown world.
Well, yeah, and they're working against you every which way. It seems like. Absolutely. There was even the infamous coffee shop recording that you were mentioned heavily in apparently, and during that recording about how the Frisco Board of Trustees have been trying to basically filibuster all your issues and avoid voting on any of your issues or any of your motions.
Kicking the can down the road as far as they can, using whatever powers they have to kind of subvert what you and Stephanie Elad are trying to accomplish.
Right.
That seems to be a pretty normal occurrence, right?
Yes, it is. And, we weren't surprised that, someone happened to tape them actually saying that. We're aware of that. That is what is going on when we try to put forth policy.
Right.
But it was really interesting to have it recorded and have them actually say that that's what they're doing.
And it made its way to the Gateway Pundit.
Yeah.
Which is wild.
I mean, even the Dallas Morning News, you may remember they were really on my case for a little while. And even they had to reprimand the president of our board
Good.
for that secret tape, and basically said she has to regain credibility in the district because you got to believe your own ears when she says she was trying to put it off. That's what she was doing.
I mean, I read her comments after the fact, and she kind of like stood up for herself and backed her comments and was like, "Hey, no, like I'm doing this, and this is why I'm doing it, and this, and then tried to like turn it around, and it's all spin.
We got to fight dirty because they fight dirty.
Right. And it's, man.
But they don't.
Politics at the local level is just as slimy as it is on TV with like the national guys and gals. Absolutely. It's crazy. I'm like, I look at this and I'm just like, and we've been in the thick of this for the last year or so as we've gotten more involved in understanding local school board politics, local town politics. And, as we talk to more candidates, Prosper, Frisco, Plano, Wiley, we talked to a candidate a little while back, and it's everywhere. It's everywhere. It's crazy.
And I think one of the reasons behind all of this is even though we live in a fairly conservative area, what happens is most conservative thinking people have better things to do than to get involved in public office. They just want to live their lives. We don't want to bother anybody. Let me run my business and things like that. And so it seems like the pull of local politics, it pulls more left of center people into it. And they get in and they start making policy that the public wouldn't agree with. Mm-hmm. And a lot of this, the policy is unspoken and unwritten policy. It's just things that they do that I think the board of trustees should oversee. But in many cases, they don't know, or if they don't know, it's just like, go on.
Yeah.
A wink and a nod.
Yeah. Right.
Go ahead. Yeah.
A lot of winking, a lot of nodding.
Yeah, but I guess they didn't get the wink
slid
and
across
nod.
The table.
Yeah, they didn't get the wink and the nod on you with these allegations that came at you about the transgender student, about how you're harassing them. Was it Debbie Gillespie?
I don't know how it all got started. I mean, somebody gave the information to the Dallas Morning News, and they did the stories, which prompted the board to want to investigate it. Now, we don't really have any mechanism to investigate in our board operating procedures. We don't have anything. So this was new for me, for them, the way they set it up, and the procedures that could have applied to me weren't even followed. So they got out and decided they wanted to investigate me for something that really, first of all, didn't happen.
Right.
And second of all, they didn't have a right to really do anything about it anyway.
Yeah.
Right.
So just for the listeners and the viewers, walk us through exactly what did happen. So you were at an event. You were speaking at an event.
We were at the TASB conference, the Texas Association of School Boards. And in that, at that convention, they had a breakout session, which was led by an ACLU lawyer, LGBT activist, a mother, and her daughter, who was 15 years old and transitioning from a girl to a boy.
Okay.
And I'm listening to this, the whole discussion, which is how we have to accommodate trans students because of Title IX. And, they were just explaining that. Well, at the end of it, my heart really went out to the young girl who was transitioning into a boy. I don't know if you guys have ever looked at detransitioning.
Yeah. I've gone down that rabbit hole.
It's the saddest thing to me.
Well, a lot of these kids are committing suicide. They're going on depression. They're going on drugs for depression because they have regrets.
It's irreversible,
absolutely.
really, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think depending on how far you've gone, you know, it can be. I did meet with someone who was transitioning into a woman and, you know, decided to come back. But anyway, this was happening to the 15-year-old girl, and I didn't want to engage her or anything. I just went up to the person and said, hey, you know, many people might not agree with this, but we all really care for you. We all really want the best for you. And when I said that, I think she felt like I was affirming the transition, and her mom heard me and they started to engage me. Well, let me tell you about this. And they talked for a little while, and it was like, well, I'm not there. I just believe boys should use boys' bathrooms and vice versa. And we talk a little bit more, and it's like, well, you know, I just don't think that girls should be in boys' locker rooms and vice versa. I think that could be a dangerous thing. And I'm giving you the abridged version, but
sure.
And then at some point, the girl said, I feel unsafe. And I was not engaging the girl. At this point, I was talking to her mom. I just came up to the girl who was transitioning into a boy, and I just wanted to say, hey, you know, we care about you, and that's all. But the mother engaged me, and this is where the conversation took. And once the girl started saying she felt unsafe, someone asked me to leave. And it wasn't like, you know, I've heard stories like they had to carry me out there, all kind of weird stuff. But I was asked to leave, and that was really all that happened.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden, the Dallas Morning News catches wind of it and runs a hit piece on you, basically.
That's correct.
Saying that you were like aggressively, like, you know, berating this individual.
Why would I?
At least
I don't even
slander you.
Why would I even engage a child in this type of discussion?
Exactly.
You know, it just didn't happen. That's all I could say.
Well, I mean, you know, the Dallas Morning News is a pretty far left-leaning rag, and so they're gonna do their hit piece thing on anybody who's conservative that they can attack. I mean, it's just the way media runs these days.
They chum up the waters with their blood, and all the sharks get all in a frenzy.
They smell it and they go after it. Yeah, they just want to like, hey, this is conservative. Like, you know, this person's conservative. We got to bat them down. We got to we got to beat them down, and we can't let them get away with this.
Get some hits.
Yeah.
Clicks. It's all clickbait.
Yeah, man. So they wanted to invest. Then the board decides they want to try to investigate you for this, and there's really no reason to, because nothing happened.
There's no reason for them to investigate, and they really have not been in a situation where they needed to investigate anybody. They didn't have the mechanisms in place to really do that, but they decided they wanted to do that in this particular case.
I want to set a precedent for future hit pieces on conservative board members is probably
it's a very dangerous precedent to set.
Yeah, there's slippery slope.
Like, and you didn't do anything, but like Drew Wilborn, who clearly did do something, right? Like he didn't even have to step down. He just chose to resign.
Yeah.
Here at Prosper.
So,
like there's literally, you can murder people. And can you get kicked off the school board? You know, I don't know. Because Janelle, who was on with Aileen, was just basically saying like, you're pretty much untouchable once you're under the ISD umbrella.
Well, I think that was for administrators, not school board members.
Right.
That was more of a civil thing. And I think that was reputational. And like, he knew that something was going to come out of that. So it's probably why Drew Wilborn was just like, I'm going to step down. I'm going to vacate,
right?
You know, and new president, you know, and the appointments are coming.
Now the appointments, we're getting the appointments.
I can't vote on that. Sorry, people. Sorry, we the people.
Well, they're not even working for us anyway, so what's the point?
It's true.
Why do we even have to go vote? By the way, if you are going to go vote, and you should go early, because every other time that you go on election day, I mean, you'll be standing out there for a long time. an hour. So I would encourage everybody to just go
Yeah.
ahead and get out there and get your early vote sticker.
Yeah, I think you
your
can
lapel.
do it through the 2nd or the 3rd of May, and then there's a 2 or 3 day lull where you can't vote early, and then you're stuck voting on May 6th.
That's
which is
right. I got my vote in today, and it was no one in there.
Yeah, that's what I've been hearing.
Bunch of empty machines.
Yeah.
So.
Well,
Which
that's the other
machine do
thing
I want to
too.
vote at?
What is the voting like? We asked Susan this too, but like from your perspective, what is the number? Like how many people actually vote in Frisco? Because there's 225,000 people living there. 100,000 or how many kids in the school district?
67,000.
67,000. So you got roughly, I'm going to guess 100, let's call it 150,000 voters, right? How many people actually vote?
I think we had somewhere around 15,000, a little less than 15,000 who voted in our election.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, those numbers are so low compared to the total number of people.
Oh yeah.
It's wild to me. 10%.
Yeah. It's really low turnout.
So 90% of the people just don't give it. Damn.
You know, I'd like to say those idiots that don't get out there and vote for their, mayor and school board. I'd like to really talk about them bad, except for I was one of those people.
Well, we
prior
all
to
were
me running.
Yeah.
So,
well, we all were.
Kicking my own
Right?
ass.
I mean, I think those numbers are getting bigger every year now.
I believe they are too.
Because more people are paying attention. Like we were talking about before we started recording, it local action is important, especially now more than ever. You know, the national action, the national conglomerates have kind of taken everything over. They've taken over food, they've taken over pharma, they've taken over banking, they've taken over media, and we're people are trying to get more away from that, right? They're building community. They're trying to get to know their neighbors more. They're trying to go to their neighborhood banks and get away from the big banks. And, there's a lot more of that local feel that's kind of coming back to the people. And I think you see that in the uptick in the number of voters in these local municipal elections.
And look, so many people complain about what's going on in their community and what's going on the national or even state level. But the bottom line, you need to get in where you can fit in. Where you can fit in is on the local level. That's really where you make the most difference. Gentleman, I just really have a lot of respect for is Colonel Alan.
Alan West. I love that guy.
And he just says that the school board is perhaps the most important office where you really make a vote and you really make a difference that you can see. Mm-hmm. And you could talk about it and you could feel. And just the closer you get to local, the closer, the more you can see the policy changes that really affect you. So, and like I said, the things we're championing and really pushing are things that we're going to be able to say, hey, we're doing this, or this is what we're not doing. This is going to change your child's life.
Literally. Yeah, it helps. And the thing is all these people, the population, essentially, the majority of the population is watching local news and national, global news, and they're looking at their stock portfolio. So they're looking at everything else except what's around them, and I think people have that tendency to do that, is to focus on others and things that are away from you. They don't want to really look at their community. They like to look at other people's communities because it's easier to point fingers. But there's three more pointing right back at you, and that's where you need to be pointing at, right? Like right here, big change starts locally. It's all about community. So yeah, and then the movement of smaller media, like Dudes Talking Freedom podcast, it's going to change that. And
I really believe we're going to have just a change in the way people receive their information. And again, podcasts like this address the needs of the people right around you.
Yeah.
And it's needed,
I mean, you look around, there's no local radio stations. There's no local news. I mean, the closest local news you get is like Dallas. Mm-hmm. And Dallas doesn't give a shit about what's going on in Prosper unless it's like a scandal with a school bus driver, right?
Well, they're all bought out by a mega corporation anyway.
Well, that's what I mean, right? CBS, NBC, Fox, et cetera, right? So there is no local outlet that does this, you know, and that gets feet on the street and talks to people at the local level. And there's a gap, and like we fill that gap. And that's why we talk to folks like yourself and, you know, other candidates and board members and, you know, local business owners and, you know, like people who, you know, we want to talk to patriotic, you know, America loving people, right? That want to see positive change, that want to see improvement. And, you know, you're not going to get that on CNN or MSNBC or Fox. You're just going to get a bunch of talking heads that are going to sit up there and they're going to spin whatever narrative that they were served up on their teleprompters. And then they're going to have their interviewees come on, and then they're going to debate their interviewees when they say something that they don't like Don Lemon, who was on with, Vivek Ramaswamy the other day saying like, you're not black, so you can't tell me what black people, and he's like, hey, look, man, like, I'm an Indian American. Like, I think I have a general idea.
He handled that interview just perfectly. Yeah. I think he was great. I saw that interview.
He's a rock star, man.
37 years old.
37 years old, that guy. He is a rock star.
I tell you, I totally agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
Yeah. Have you read his book, Woke Inc.?
No, I have not.
You should.
I heard about it. I have not read it.
It's a great book. It's definitely worth the read.
Frisco ISD is just a shining beacon of light, though, for North Texas and ISDs in general, because you guys already have two solid trustees on the board.
Yeah.
Like true conservative trustees. And you have a real chance of adding a couple more.
We do. I think as the community wakes up, we will have a really good shot of getting Reed Bond and Susan Kershaw elected. And, you were talking earlier about, getting more involved in local to change what's going on. And, what's really amazing to me is the change we're talking about is not we want to take the district or society or anyone in some weird direction that we've never been before. Mm-hmm. We all used to have a set of standards that we all went by. And really, we just want to get back to, the basics, just get away from all this wokeism and all this new ideas. And trust me, it has infected education more than you even know. I mean, we have something called standards-based grading, which instead of you students having to do homework and assignments and things like that, the most important concept, the gist of the concept is just so long they learn the material. Mm-hmm. We don't care about them doing the discipline that it takes to get there. If you just learn it, if you turn in your homework at the end of the semester, that's fine, just so long you learned it. And there's other concepts like this bucket grading. Are you familiar with that?
I don't know.
Bucket grading. You see, in my opinion, we are great because we, as a country, because we are a meritocracy. Mm-hmm. You do great, you get rewarded. Okay, there's going to always be winners there, and if there's going to be winners, there's going to be losers. Everybody can't be a winner, and everybody's not typically a loser. But what happens is there's a mindset in government. It's like in the school, like you participated, you get an A. Okay. It's almost like that's the mentality. So with bucket grading, whether you get 100 or maybe a 94, that's the same grade.
Okay, yeah.
And it's just crazy.
It's not an A and an A plus. It's just an A.
It's just an A. And they're not going to have any way of distinguishing between the 94 and the 100. And just like in school, the standards-based grading, they don't have any way of distinguishing between the person that did their homework every single day and turned in all their assignments on time. They don't have any way of distinguishing between that person and the person who didn't do anything. And at the last end of the semester, he skated, but didn't do any of the assignments. Yeah. And at the end of the year, he passed and he showed mastery on the subject. And so he gets the same grade as a person who...
Tragic.
It should be getting more granular, if anything. I mean, the term rounding error is called rounding error for a reason. Right. It's an error.
Yeah.
No, and that's a part of the woke mindset.
Yeah.
that's working. And
well, it's like socialism, right? Like everybody gets a piece of bread, whether you work for it or not.
Yeah, the scary little secret about socialism is they say that, but there are always going to be people who do better than others. It's just the government picks the people who do
that's
better than
right.
others. It's not done based on
that is the dirty little secret. Yeah. You guys will all get to eat the bugs while we get to eat the meat.
Yeah,
but everyone will get to eat the bugs. It's all good. It's all good. You'll all be eating the same thing.
And the beauty, the Pilgrims figured it out right when they came over here, right? They used a system of socialist agriculture economy, and their outputs were pretty much garbage.
Yeah.
And the next year they're like, something's got to change or we're all going to die.
Yeah.
And then it became a meritocracy, and they're like, wow, this is wildly successful.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of the ignition of America and freedom and like the true path to success for us as citizens.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. I absolutely believe that. And that should be the guiding philosophy, not only in society, but especially start off in our school. Do your best. And you know what's so great about this country? You're going to have some people like my son. He's a straight A student, never made a B since kindergarten. Just way up there.
He failed finger painting or what?
No, I said he's never made he's always made A's.
No,
and there's going to be a place for him in society.
Yeah.
But then his dad, I graduated from high school. I'm not even going to tell you what that GPA was, but there's a place for me also.
Sure.
And you can be successful no matter what you do, but don't bend the scales. Have the same standards out there so that me as an employer, I can choose whether I want to go with the A student or whether I could go with the person who perhaps is more innovative and is a C student.
Yeah.
But when you put them all together, I'm not going to know what I'm getting. Yeah. And I think
it kind of ruins the competitive nature of humans.
And you have to be competitive.
Yeah, it's like going back to the participation trophy
exactly
analogy. It's like, I would coach. I've coached youth sports for a long time, almost a decade now, and we play to win. We always play to win, whether they're keeping score or not. We play to win.
Absolutely.
We get all the kids involved, but we play to win because the kids have fun when they're winning. They don't like to lose. And if you think that they're not keeping score, like all these parents that are like,
absolutely.
Hey, Johnny's so happy because he's playing and he's just so happy that he's out there in the field and it doesn't matter if you win or lose. Like, no. These kids are in the huddle with me and they're like, what's the score? Like they want to know, right? Even before we were keeping score, they're like, what's the score? We're up by a touchdown, right? Like they want to know what the score is. They are keeping score, whether they are 4 or they are 14. They are definitely competitive. It is human nature.
Well,
and when you take it away from even the girls though, man.
Yeah, they are, but the boys to a very huge extent.
Of course, because again, that's the nature of males versus females, that they're a little bit more competitive, right?
And aren't those just good?
Because they're different, right?
They're good life lessons. That is what life is. Life is not going to, anybody who you work for, that employer is going to want to pick the best.
Yeah.
They're not going to go and say, hey, we'll flip a coin on you. Hey, we got 10 people who want to join the company. We'll flip a coin and pick one of them. They're going to look at who's the best.
Best
and we
job.
need to instill in our kids that that's what society is like. And we have such a great country and such great opportunity here that if you didn't get this job, you might compete somewhere else where your skill set is needed more. But we don't need to teach them that, hey, I'm equal to that person that made straight A's and I should have the same shot at what he has. No, you shouldn't.
Mm-hmm.
Although you may be more useful. Quite frankly, you look like Bill Belichick, your Patriot guy. He isn't always going after the highest rated people. He's going after individuals that have
fit the system the way he wants them to.
Fit the system and have the character.
Yeah.
Right? It's all about the character.
Yeah, he oftentimes will not go get the best available and pay for the best available. He will oftentimes go find the person that has the character, fits in the system, will do their job that they are assigned on the team, and help the team to win. And
I don't want to take a shot at him, but how's that worked out for him lately?
Well, he did lose TB12, and
he's getting a full transmission workover.
He is. He's rebuilt. They're rebuilding.
Yeah.
They're rebuilding.
So have you heard about this kid? Not to change the subject off your favorite subject.
Let's go.
But Dennis Barnes, this kid, he goes to New Orleans High School. And he just set the record with more than $9 million in scholarship offers.
Yeah.
$9 million.
Yeah.
And he's not going to play basketball or anything. You know, I mean, he's not doing name, image, likeness. These are just straight scholarships.
Like merit scholarships?
Yeah, merit scholarships.
Not sports.
Yeah.
Wow, good for him.
I was just blown away.
Where is he going? Like MIT?
He's accepted to 170 different colleges, but I was just
170. Yeah. That, like, when you start applying to that many schools, it's like
he applied to 200.
But you're taking, I feel like, for what? You're taking away from, why?
Because he wants the best deal he can get.
I mean, I get it, but like, dude, he should only apply to like 5 or 6 schools. Get a few targets. You're going to get in them all.
Let's be honest.
That good,
Will we be talking about him if he only applied to 5 colleges? So
right.
No,
we're talking about him now.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I don't know. It reminds me of that quarterback. Who's the quarterback of the Buffalo Bills?
I think he's taken away from other people getting into schools. That's all. He's taking spots. He's taking acceptance spots because these schools are like, they only accept so many kids, right?
That's correct.
And so so that's one less kid that's going to get accepted into that school because he got accepted into that school. Whether they think he's going to go there or not, they still doled out an acceptance letter for him. So
yeah.
I feel like I don't know. If I were his parent, I'd be like, just pick your top 5 schools, man.
I don't know. I love it. I think
I'm with you. Like, hey, this is what I did, and it'll be a bragging right now.
Yeah, it reminds me of Josh Allen, though, the quarterback for the Buffalo Bills, and he applied to I think he applied to every Division I school.
Really?
All kinds of schools.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and nobody was taking him, and he ended up going to Wyoming.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that was the only school that took him, He was just a nobody, couldn't get a starting job to save his life. And he got this one shoestring opportunity and boom, next thing you know, he's MVP in, the NFL.
Yeah.
So, I mean, never give up, always keep trying, always have dreams. It doesn't matter if you have a 4.7 GPA, which I don't even know how you get there these days. It blew my mind. I thought 4.0 was perfect. Yeah,
I thought 4.0 was that.
That's what
you
this
take
kid says.
the advanced classes, you can get a weighted GPA.
Oh,
my son has over a 5.0 GPA.
Is that right?
Yeah. But it's when you use the weighted scale.
Oh, wow. I had no idea you could get above a 4.0.
Yeah, you can.
Well, good. That's great. 5.0. That's
Yeah,
amazing. Andy's a good athlete too, huh?
4.9.
No, they're different. One is a good athlete and one's...
That's usually how it works. Yeah. One's like the brain. The other one's got the,
And the other one's smart too, but he's more of a normal kid. My oldest is not normal. It's like...
different level.
I'd like to say that I was disciplined. His dad getting on his case. No, he just knew what he had to do and never told him to do his homework one day. Wow. And
my son's kind of like that. I mean, he's weird. He's very disciplined on his own.
He's some kids are just wired that way.
Focused. Yeah, he is. He's definitely wired that way.
Don't go try and change him, Dad.
I'm not going to. I'm not going to. He's the chess player. He's the one that likes to play chess. So, what are your thoughts on the upcoming election?
Well, it's really interesting. I sure wish there was some way we could get a feel for the community and how it's going. But, in the absence of polls, you look at Nextdoor and see what people are saying and some social media. And I feel really good about Reed Bond and Susan Kershaw getting elected. I believe the establishment is against her, and they're going to be pulling out all the stops to get their people elected. But I feel pretty good. I feel that if we get our people out to vote, that we'll win. It's really that simple.
Yeah, I think that's the critical thing. I think it's, if you're listening and you're in Frisco ISD, you got to get out and vote. You got to figure out who the candidates are, what they stand for, what you stand for, and match up what you stand for with what the candidates stand for, and get your butts out to the polls and vote, or do it early.
Can I disagree with you just a little bit?
Yeah, sure. Of course.
If you don't like Susan Kershaw and Reed Bond, don't worry about voting.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, don't bother voting.
Yeah.
I agree.
Yeah, I would agree with that too.
No, I mean, I was kind of kidding.
Most of the people that listen to this program are going to probably vote for Susan and Reed. But yeah, we've really enjoyed having you. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, we are. Just pleasure having met you and getting to know you and understanding what you're all about and what you're doing for Frisco ISD. We think it's great. And, we need more folks like Marvin Lowe out there running for school board, doing their thing, helping their local communities. So, thank you for what you're doing.
I'll tell you, I covet your prayers and the audience prayers. And I was happy to find out that you play chess. So I look forward to playing chess with you.
Yeah, we'll get a game going.
Okay.
Are you listening? Damn.
All right, dudes and dudettes, that's a wrap for this episode of Dudes Talking Freedom. And special thanks to Marvin Lowe, Frisco ISD Board Place 2 Trustee, for joining us in studio tonight. For DTF, this is Jeremy.
And this is Luke.
And we'll see you next time.